Welcome to the Quantum Guide Show, where you will find interesting guests and discussions about cutting-edge topics to assist you on your journey. The Quantum Guide Show is ideally suited to the newly awakened and for those who feel isolated by their newfound beliefs. The mind, body, and spirit thrive when we have a mission, and there is no greater mission than to become the change that we wish to see in the world. So hit the like button, subscribe to my YouTube, Odyssey, and Telegram channels, and share this show with your friends. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Quantum Guide Show. I had a great guest lined up for today, but unfortunately, his family became ill. It was Costa Macrias, and we were going to talk about the People's Disclosure Movement, but I've rebooked him for probably January because I'm booked up till then. And I thought, well, you know what? Why not use this time to talk about my own extraterrestrial experiences and the important message that they've given me to share with humankind. So, in my opinion, more important than my adventures off-world is the download I receive from my ET friends, which I offer free of charge to the world of humans. And from this information that I received, I created a 9-step program that will help people to utilize their own God-given abilities to make contact and to learn better ways of being and doing things. Because I believe that together we can bring peace and harmony to planet Earth. And I want to thank everybody ahead of time for liking, sharing, and subscribing. I really appreciate it. So I guess I'll start by talking a bit about my contact experience. You hear a lot about contact experiences. You hear about abductions. You hear about people who are contactees, people who are ambassadors. There's so much going on. And so I want to just start by clarifying a little bit about my extraterrestrial experiences. And if you want more details, please feel free to check out my YouTube channel or my Odyssey or my Telegram channel to find out more about my experiences. And basically that information is being taken from the book that I'm working on right now. I hope to have published soon. I know I've been saying that for like 2 years. It's still not published, but it will be eventually, I'm pretty sure. So let me just start by talking about my ET friends. So my ET friends are not within our solar system. They're not necessarily even within our star quadrant, which is basically the space that we're sort of involved in within our galaxy. And they're not from any one specific group or race or anything like that. Now, according to my experiences, our ET brothers and sisters look very much like us. There are some subtle differences, but not that much. So even if you take human beings here on planet Earth, you know, we're all one species and we're one race. We are the human race. You hear people on Earth talk about this race and that race. It's not true. There's only one human race, and that's us. And so there are other beings from other places, let's just put it that way, who themselves are a different race, but they're the same species. And so they look very, very much like us. But I'm going to tell you, these beings are amazing, and they've inspired me so much. And to be honest with you, after spending time with them, it's really hard to come back to planet Earth and all the problems that are here. But I do understand that I have a mission, and my mission is to share as much information as I can based on what I learn with other people, because I believe that when each one of us does this, not necessarily from ETs, but whenever we do our best to improve our health, our psychology, the way we do things, we're actually changing the morphogenic field that we all operate in, and we're helping to bring some paradise and some peace and some balance to planet Earth. And I think that is more important than saying, oh, I had this experience with ET and that experience with ET. But I also know that a lot of you are very interested in my experiences, and so I thought I'd speak a little bit about that today. So I've had this experience. It happened around, 2013. And it was the weirdest thing, because if it hadn't happened to me, quite frankly, I wouldn't believe it. I just wouldn't. And so I don't expect y'all to run out and just believe everything I'm saying. This is my perceptual arena and the best I can do to explain my experiences and the things that I have perceived as being very real and very beneficial to humans. So it started one night, it started one night, and it went on every single night for about 3 months. And then as abruptly as it started, it stopped. And in the beginning, I thought, I'm imagining this, or I'm having vivid dreams, or I kept trying to explain it away. First of all, because, I don't want to be a nutter. Who does? And the other thing, too, is I didn't want to adopt my experience as being real if it really wasn't. But this kept happening night after night after night. And how it was so different, this experience, from the dreams that I have, is that it was very cohesive. It was very concurrent. Everything made sense. Everything happened in logical procession. The only thing that was really weird about it is that time and space didn't exist the same as what we experience. And what I mean by that is my adventures off-world felt to me, as I experienced them, as being very much like 3.5 years. So I would go to sleep at night in my bed, and the next thing you know, I was having these off-world experiences. And in the morning, I'd wake up and I'd be back in my bed. So I didn't know if I was being transported or taken, or whether this was all happening on a psychic level. Like, I really didn't know. And in the beginning, I didn't even want to believe it, because for the reasons I already mentioned, but also I didn't want to believe it because that's a pretty big experience. And it kind of comes with responsibility when I'm telling other people about it, or when I'm enacting the changes in my life that stemmed from those experiences. So because my experience is so weird, I don't discount anybody else's experience. So if you've had an amazing extraterrestrial experience, or even a not so amazing extraterrestrial experience, feel free to drop me an email. And, if you feel confident enough, come on my show and talk about it. Because the thing about the Quantum Guide show and the other show that I co-host with Dave Petrella, called Aliens and Astrology, there is no forbidden or taboo subjects. We can talk about everything. Why wouldn't we? Why wouldn't we? We're sharing information, and that's, I think, really, really important in this day and age of so much misinformation. So anyway, when I go to sleep at night and I have dreams, generally they don't make a lot of sense. They're very disjointed. Parts of it might have a lot of symbology. I might dream that I'm trying to go somewhere and I'm trying to run and I'm sort of stuck in space, and just weird shit happens to me when I'm having dreams. I think dreams are important because they are signals or information from our subconscious, but I don't necessarily believe that my dreams are real life experiences. So when I started having my extraterrestrial experiences, it wasn't like that at all. Everything was very logical, very laid out in sort of a systematic way. And so I had several different kinds of experiences also while I was away. And again, I don't know if I was taken etherically, or whether I was just having it infused into me, or whether it was actually traveling to another time and space while I was asleep. I don't know. And there was no witnesses to give me any feedback with this regard. So the first thing that happened to me was I ended up going and having an orientation. So all of a sudden, I'm in this big room, and there's no windows. There's a couple of doors, one on each end of this room. There was very little furniture, but there was some chairs and some tables, and it looked like they kind of just came up from the ground floor. There was no visible evidence of construction like rivets and screws and paint and things like that. And I thought that was interesting. And that was the first sort of clue that I wasn't dreaming. And because when I dream, generally I'm drawing from my earth experiences. The other thing I noticed is that the people, and they were people, they're absolutely people, they looked a little bit different. So just like on Earth, you know how people have different skin tones, people have different sizes of noses and ears, even within small genome groups. We have all kinds of, I have freckles, some people don't, and some people are really tall and some are shorter. And so there was a very similar format to these beings. And but when they spoke, I did not understand anything they were saying, and some of them sounded quite different than others. And when I spoke to them, they didn't understand what I was saying. So we had to sort of rely on gestures to communicate. But it was a fairly friendly group, and nobody seemed to know why we were there. We were just there in this room. It was very strange. So I also noticed that the construction of the room was really different than anything I had ever experienced before. Everything looked like the walls and the floor and the ceiling and everything all seemed to be of the same material, and it seemed to be kind of soft, not soft, squishy soft, but texturally soft. Kind of like finished leather would be soft, or if you've ever sat in a really nice, comfy leather couch, what that would feel like. And I actually went up to the wall and I ran my finger down the wall, and much to my surprise, it kind of reacted as though it was sort of being tickled. It sort of puckered a little bit and had little waves of vibration looking response. And I thought that was really cool too. And so there was no fear. I wasn't afraid at all. Nobody else was afraid. We actually, while we were waiting, we played a little game. I don't know exactly. I don't remember exactly what it was. That's the other thing. I don't remember everything. I haven't had regression therapy or anything like that. I just sort of remember certain stuff and certain stuff I don't. And the stuff I remember, I believe the reason I remember it is so that I can share that information with other people. Anyway, so we had this small item. I don't know, like if it was a piece of refuse or what, paper crumpled up. I don't remember. But I remember we had this small object. And so I started kicking it towards some of the people, and they started kicking it back. And I took off, I had a hoodie on, and I took it off and I put it I wasn't even wearing my pajamas. I was wearing like normal lazy girl clothes, hoodie and sweatpants type outfit. And so anyway, I took off my hoodie and I put it in a pile and motioned for someone else to do the same. And they put down, I don't know what it was, a satchel or a bag or something. And we used that as the goalpost. We just started kicking it back, this piece of refuse back and forth, as though we were playing hockey or soccer or something like that. And it was really quite funny. And people did laugh and we kind of liked it. And then all of a sudden, boom, one of the doors opened and in came kind of like an entourage. And before the entourage, I did notice there was one guy standing at that door. And it kind of looked like a guard, but he wasn't threatening in any way. And I went up to him and I asked him, in English, what's going on, or how long are we going to be here? And to my surprise, I heard inside my mind, it won't be long now. Anyway, this entourage came in and we were just like watching, like what the heck is going on? And we were instructed through telepathy that we would have a bit of an orientation, and we just needed to, follow some basic instructions, and pretty soon we would be assigned a buddy, and we would be assigned a room or quarters, and but nothing overwhelming. I was really surprised about that. So the first thing they did was they assigned me a buddy. So that's the other thing I want to get back to. So the beings are the people that lived where I was. I later found out I was on a massive ship, and the ship was very much like the size of a city. It was huge, probably 1 million people, maybe more. And it was kind of button shaped. So it was like a saucer, but not really tall. It was sort of flattened a little bit on the top and the bottom. I mean, later on in my adventures, I did get to see it from the outside. It was very interesting, like nothing I've ever seen in artwork or in other people's descriptions. But anyway, so we're on this big ship. At this point, I don't know how I got there. I don't know what's going on, but I always kind of like adventures, so I just sort of went with it. And so a couple things happened that day. I was assigned a buddy, and she was great. They try to assign us a buddy that looks closest to the way we look, just to help, ease us into the culture and into the experience. So she did look very much like the humans here on Earth, but she's taller. Most of the beings I encountered were taller than us, with larger frames. I wouldn't call them giants, although there were some that were very tall, like, probably 9 feet tall. But most of us were around 7, I shouldn't say us, them, were about 7 feet tall. Some were like 7.5, but they had large frames. So I don't know if you've ever watched any documentaries about the Anunnaki and the Assyrians and Gilgamesh and the Epic of Gilgamesh, where he's standing there holding a lion, and the lion looks little and like it wants to get away, like a kitty would. Well, that's sort of what they look like. Very stocky, very muscular, and very in shape, but not intimidating or threatening in any way. All kinds of skin tones, and most of the skin tones, I would say, ranged between like a beige color right through to very, very dark brown, as we see here on Earth. But there were also some people that had kind of an orange tinge to their skin pigment, and there were other beings who had kind of a blue tinge, which I thought was super interesting. So so anyway, it was very, very interesting. So on the first day the first night that I was taken, actually lasted for a few days. So anyway, I got my buddy assigned to me. She was absolute sweetheart. We didn't do any speaking, but we did do some gesturing until I started to get the hang of how telepathy works. And the training to be able to use telepathy effectively actually took quite a bit of time. But anyway, so then what we did is we went into this other room where there was kind of like a cylinder walkway that was tall enough that we all didn't have to stoop going into it. And we just walked through that and came out the other end. So my buddy communicated to me, because none of them use words at all. They use telepathy. Telepathy isn't necessarily me hearing English in my mind, although sometimes it can come across that way. Telepathy is sort of a composite of physical sensations, emotions, symbols, or even just kind of abstract concepts rather than words. But anyway, so I had this lovely buddy, and she was great, and she stayed with me, which was so comforting, because I didn't know what the hell was going on at this point, right? So anyway, I'd done the scan. Later, I found out that the scan not only took an imprint of everything physical about me, but also everything from even past lives, which really validated the whole concept of reincarnation to me. But even my physical self, everything that was right or wrong with me, my psychology, my spirituality, everything, I guess it's all measured in frequency, was sort of documented at that point. She then took me, I was feeling fine during all of this, but she then took me to get my quarters. And it's really cool. So the ship is actually alive. It's not made out of nuts and bolts and things like that. It's actually alive. And it's sort of integrated mentally and emotionally and everything on a psychic level with all the beings that live on the ship. So we're kind of like one kind of unit. Very, very cool. But the other thing about it is, and I don't know what the technology is. I'm not a technical person. My sort of bent or strong suit is sociology and psychology, which they call the soft sciences. I don't have a clue how things work. I would not make a good engineer, that's for sure. But I'll just tell you how it appeared and how I experienced it. So anyway, she took me down. All the walkways were quite broad, but they weren't cubical. They were more oval when we walked through, like kind of like long oval tubes, if you can imagine that. And there was no specific light source. So the light just kind of animated or came from the walls somehow. The same with the heat, everything. And it was quite, comfortable for me at that point. But anyway, whenever we need, basically everything exists at all parts of the ship all at one time. And the ship also can communicate or understand what we need or want through psychic ability as well. So I thought that was pretty cool. So anyway, we go down this corridor, we make a couple of turns, and we end up in another corridor, and she just stops in front of the wall. And I looked at the wall and all of a sudden a door just appeared. I can't explain it. I don't know if it's nanotechnology or what. The door just appeared and then it just opened. So everything we desire comes to us at that time through a psychic connection to the ship. And so we went inside and there was nothing in there. And I looked at her and I wondered, well, don't I get a bed or something? And she just nodded, and then she just held out her hands like this, and out came a bit of a platform from the wall. And it wasn't like a Murphy bed. It just sort of appeared and came out of the wall. And on it was a nice kind of like a mattress or a pad. It was very comfortable. There was a light blanket. There was a little pillow. And she just motioned for me to try it. So I went and laid down on it. It was very comfortable. And at that point, I know this is going to sound gross, guys. Sorry about this. Too much information, but I had to pee. So I know I was there physically. I had to pee. And she knew right away that I had to pee. And she just motioned to another spot in the room, and a door appeared. And kind of like, a hobbit door. It wasn't really square or oblong. It was sort of like arched kind of door. It just kind of appeared and opened. And inside there was nothing. And then she showed me that the toilet is nothing like our toilets. I know it's too much information, but you know what? I mean, how come nobody else is talking about this kind of detail when they get taken, But for some reason, I remember, and this is how it was for me. So anyway, basically, she just sort of stood there, and all of a sudden, another platform came out from the wall. This was at both the bed and the toilet facility were both, floor level, just sort of came out, and she just motioned me to stand on this little platform, and I did. And as soon as I did, out came this sort of corrugated tube about this big. I'm trying to get it on the camera right, about this big around, right? It was kind of a little bit flat, came up from the ground, and then she just motioned, that's what you use. So she left because I didn't want to pee in front of her, and I just dropped my drawers and bent over slightly, and this tube thing just came up and met me, where it was how it was comfortable for me to stand, and I was able to do my business. And I was looking for toilet paper. Of course, there isn't any. All of a sudden, when I was done, there was like a little poof of air. I don't know what it was. And all of a sudden, I was just dry and clean. And so I jumped off and I pulled up my pants, and this thing just went back into the platform, and the platform then just went back into the wall. And then I stood beside that, and I was just thinking, where do I wash my hands? Although you don't touch anything, there's no germ transfer. It's all automatic. Out came a little platform that was about waist height for me. And as soon as I put my hands in front of it, just a basin and water or fluid appeared. And that was very simple. And then I was thinking, gee, it'd be nice if I had a mirror, and boom, this mirror just sort of appeared. So I don't think it was magic. I think it was like something like nanotechnology or something like that. I don't know. So after that, she also showed me there was a thing that came out of the wall. It was like everything just kind of comes out of the wall. When you're done with it, it just kind of dissolves and disappears. So everything is available everywhere. It's just depending on what you desire or what you want as to the shape and the form of it, right? So anyway, she showed me there was this thing that came out. It was kind of like a little dresser. It had drawers, actually, real drawers. And she just said that she would tell me more about it later. But basically, anything I need or want would be in that drawer in the morning when I woke up. And at that point, I was feeling a bit sad because I was going, oh my God, am I going to be here forever? How long am I going to be here? I got a kitty at home. I got people, I care about. I can't just stay here. And she let me know that for me, it would be all happening in one night, and I would be back safe at home before I woke up in the morning. And I went, okay. Just had to take her for her word. And then she took me to another place. It was very interesting. And this is where they have what I call the healing chambers. So apparently, as I learned later, apparently people can't just go from one planet environment to another planet environment without some form of healing or preparation. We're used to a specific frequency of the planet that we live on, like the Schumann resonance. We are used to a certain amount of gravity. We're used to a certain, almost invisible biome, which would be the air around us and the water and the grass and the trees. I know that's visible, but the part that's not visible is all the microbes and things that are in our air that we're used to, all those kind of details, right? And so apparently you can't just go from one planet to another. We can't even go to the moon or to Mars without some kind of treatment to help us to make that kind of huge change that it would make on a physical three-dimensional body. So again, that's why I think I was really there physically. Anyway, these they look like huge cylinders, and they were laid out kind of in a circle pattern. So there was more of them on the outside, and then as it went towards the circle of this huge room, huge, like a warehouse huge, there was less and less. But I also noticed some of these were huge, like for real giants, like, I don't know, 15 or 20 or 25-foot beings. And there was less of them than there was of the more average, 6 to 7 foot long, cylinders. Anyway, so we went up to one, and she just went in front of it, and the desire that she had was for it to open. So it opened, and she just motioned for me to try it. And I went, okay. So I kind of climbed in, I laid on my back. It was kind of moist in there, and the material was not like fabric or metal or even wood. To me, it felt like moss, some kind of mosses. It was moist, but not uncomfortable. And it was very, just very comfortable. And so the lid started coming down. So it opened kind of like a clam, right? Except being long. And so the lid kind of came down, and I was really, I found it extremely relaxing. So I was aware of kind of colors and patterns. I was aware of scents that were very earthy and very pleasant. I was aware of my environment, but it was very pleasant. And it didn't take very long, and then the lid went back up, and my buddy was there waiting for me and helped me out. And I felt great. I felt better than I've ever felt, ever, anywhere. I was really surprised, and I really, really liked it. So then she took me back to my quarters. I wasn't, at this point really socializing with anyone else. She gave me a tablet. So the tablets they use are kind of like halfway between the size of a cell phone and a tablet that we would use. There's no buttons or dials or anything. It just looks like it's made out of glass, and the corners are very smoothly, kind of subtly rounded. And it just looked like a piece of plexiglass, really. I didn't know it was thin, and I didn't really know what it was for. So then she showed me that, she basically motioned for me to think of something I wanted information on. I wanted information on how the ship worked. And so what happened is the information just appeared in symbol form that I could understand flat on the screen. But then she put her hand on top of it, went like this, and suddenly everything was three-dimensional. So it was really cool. I was able to look at things, from a three-dimensional perspective and learn better whatever my query was. So then at that point, she took me back out where I met the rest of the beings that were there, and that had been imported along with me. And we decided we were going to have a meal. So I didn't know anything about the kinds of food that were growing on the ship. So that's the other thing. When you're on the big ship, everybody's vegan, and the vegetation that we eat grows all over the ship. So depending on what you like and what area you hang out in, you may want more fruit or more salad or nuts or whatever, and it just all grows. There's a hydroponic system that looks after everything, including us. So to make a long story short, what happens is there's fluid that is what I would consider waste material. Okay, so everything gets recycled at the end of every day, and it gets broken down to what I would call bugs. So they have little living creatures that are happy and healthy in their habitat that naturally break everything down. And that fluid system not only feeds our water system if we want to have a drink or wash or have a shower, but there's also, quite amazingly, there are these huge bath centers, bath centers, where it's partly spiritual, it's partly communal, and where we would go and just relax and sort of re-energize ourselves. And the fluid that's in there is different than water. I don't know what it is, but it gives some kind of nutrient and a very relaxing sort of effect on the body. So there's fluid from that. There's also the fluid for all the hydroponics. And all of this is just recycled every single day. And it's all put to very good use. So let's see how my time's doing. Okay, I'll just tell you a little bit more, and then I'm going to get into a bit on the Quantum Health Transformation Program. For those of you that aren't familiar or have not yet visited my website, hang on a sec, I'm just going to clear my throat. Whoops. Okay, that's better. Yeah, it's really dry here in Alberta, really cold, like around 20 below 0 Celsius, and it's very, very dry. And I do have some water here, but I may have to cough a little bit. So, yeah, so that was basically the first day for me. I remember going to bed, and she actually slept next to me so that I would feel safe and secure, and in case I had any questions or queries or anxieties or anything like that. And she stayed with me, I would say, for about 2 weeks until I felt really comfortable being there on my own. In the morning, got up again, I didn't finish telling you about sort of I don't know if they call them nutrition centers. They don't have English or words for things. So I'm having to go from the, abstract to English. And, that may not be as accurate as it could be, but I'll do my best. So anyway, we just sort of meet in a gathering place, and we're all hungry and we want to eat. And a sort of a station just comes up from the floor. It has both heating and cooling elements, depending on what you want to make. And part of the culture on the big ship is people really pride themselves in making different kinds of foods that they very openly share with everyone else. So I'll give you an example. Although we didn't use milk from animals, there were types of milks that were made into cheeses, and the different people, it was kind of their hobby that they would make these kind of cheeses. And everybody just really, loved them, and they would share them, at mealtime for those who were interested. There were people who made things like sauerkraut. There were people who made all different kinds of condiments and different kinds of things that were very, very shareable with everybody else, because there's so much abundance. There's no need for scarcity. So there's no need for people being greedy or wanting to stockpile stuff. It never happens. There's just way more of enough of everything for everybody. So anyway, so we ate, and the other thing too I learned down the road is you can just sort of pick whatever looks interesting to you, bring it to the table, and then of course our ET buddies show us how to prepare it or how we might like it. And there's quite a bit of variety. It was really actually a really super pleasant experience. I can't tell you how amazingly pleasant it was, and how hard it was to wake up in the morning and fuck, I'm back on planet Earth. It was really hard that way. So anyway, besides the orientation, there were some other things.
Right now is the perfect time to heal your mind, body, and spirit. But for some, it may be more difficult, as there are those that have experienced unexplained phenomena such as alien abduction and implantation. Many that have experienced this don't have anyone or anything they can turn to for help. Mainstream medical practices will not acknowledge the presence or treatment of these implants. They can be synthetic, holographic, energetic, or etheric. They can block your energy pathways in order to alter your feelings, behaviors, preferences, and limit your potential. Karen Holton has created the Quantum Health Transformation Program and the Alien Implant Remedy. The Alien Implant Remedy is a proprietary blend of essential oils, crystal frequencies, orgone energy, and guided meditation designed to work together to move energy and dissolve the implants. Due to current conditions, supply is limited, so check them out today. These kits provide the right combination of energetic frequencies specifically designed to disable and dissolve energetic implants that may be holding you back. Karen Holton also offers energy and wellness coaching, ascension workshops, Zen Domes orgone generators, and spiritual support. Visit KarenHoltonHealthCoach.com or click the link in the description to find out more and get your alien implant remedy today.
Started to have what I would call, started to do the ambassador work. So the beings on the ship, sorry, I'm getting getting all off on tangents. So the beings on this ship come from many different star clusters, different planets. Some of them were born and raised on the ship, never leave the ship. They just live there, and they serve a specific purpose. And so because of that, again, you can't say they're from this star cluster or that star cluster, because interbeing relationships are really common. And so you might have a mom from one star system and a dad from another, and you might look a little bit like either one or both. There is no racism or anything like that. It's really very, very, very peaceful and just wonderful. But what the people who live on the ship do is they facilitate the ambassador work. So I was introduced to the ambassador work, where I would actually meet with other beings who may or may not live on the ship. And we would discuss or communicate rather than talk all kinds of different things that may involve planet Earth or our star system or our solar system. And I know I'm speaking very much from a globe Earth perspective here, but when you really analyze my experience, it could be flat Earth, which would be habitats, that I traveled to a different habitat that was enclosed. Much the way flat Earth concept is that we're kind of a habitat in a pond amongst many habitats and ponds. So, I could explain it that way, but just to make it easy and for the majority, I'm speaking from a globe Earth perspective. So, so they facilitated the ambassador work. And as I found out later, basically what I did was I downloaded my experiences as they pertain to a specific subject or timeline or I don't know what you would call it, just different circumstances. My responses are downloaded onto, they don't have computers. It's much like the cloud, and somehow that's tied in with the ship, which is alive. And I don't know how exactly it works. Now, that ambassador work has been ongoing for me ever since then. But I don't remember really what we talk about. I remember just a little bit. I know one of them was where I was actually educated and through holograms was able to be exposed to some of these beings that people do talk about here on Earth when they're talking about their extraterrestrial experiences. So I saw beings that were very much like, looked a bit more reptilian. I saw beings that looked a little bit, different as described on, other people's experiences here on Earth. And it was just to sort of show me that these beings are not savage races. They were extremely noble, and they dressed the way we would expect medieval kings to dress. They had a lot of fabric, and they were very regal. And I was really surprised by that. But anyway, most of what I do when I'm doing the ambassador work, I don't remember. And that's apparently for my own safety. Then there is as I mentioned, the orientation, which they do ongoing with beings from all over the place, like distances we can't even imagine. And I guess we'll have to save that to another podcast on how we're able to travel unimaginable distances instantly. And no, it doesn't really involve wormholes, not from my experience, but we'll probably talk about that another time, or you can go watch some of my podcasts, and hopefully my book will be out soon. So there's that. You can train to live and work on board the big ship. And then there's the intergalactic resettlement program. So what that would be is rather than actually us resettling, what it was us doing all the work to prepare a specific biome to accept humanoid-like beings. So for instance, we visited different planets that had different kind of biomes, different kind of animals, vegetation, stuff like that. But everything was there except for the humanoids. Everything was thriving and working wonderfully well, probably because there was no humanoids. But we would do like expeditions where we would take turns, taking with us what we wanted for the habitat. We do research ahead of time, so we would know if there was things that we could use from nature that we could create our habitat while we were there doing our research, or we would take with us, simple tents and cots and things like that. So that was really interesting. So we had these tablets, and I would just go around and you just put your tablet over something, and there's all this information. It does all the diagnostic testing, everything, and then it just gives you, the information. Or you can wait, look at the information later. And again, that could be flat on the screen, done in symbols, or it could be like three-dimensional, where you get to see it from all different kind of perspectives. Super interesting. Super interesting environments. I could go on and on about what that was like, but that's sort of I'm trying to give you a bit of an overview here. So so there was the resettlement prep work that we did, and then I also learned that people often resettle, and I was told that Earth has actually been reseeded 5 times because of disasters and technologies and different things. It's sort of had to been rebooted about 5 times, and that didn't surprise me at all. So what happens is these beings will help resettle humanoids from planets where basically they're facing an extinction level event, whether it's man-made or whether it's natural, and they'll transport them. They'll put them on a big ship for orientation and training, and then they'll transport them to a new habitat or a new planet or whatever you want to call it, and they can start over again. And but it's got to be done the right way, because basically the way we've colonized Earth in our more recent history and current history, it doesn't work. It really doesn't work. It just screws up the biomes and causes extinction of species and all this other stuff. It has to be done properly, and that's why we do the research ahead of time. And then the other thing too is it's really important for people to do the work, regardless of what star system, planet, habitat you come from. You need to do a certain amount of work on self in order to be a good candidate for resettlement. Because just think of it. If they took all the people off Earth, the more powerful ones that are really fucking things up for everybody right now, and you move them and resettle them to this beautiful, pristine new world, they're going to fuck that up too. And even having them on board the big ship, they would not contribute to the harmony and the health of the beings on there. So they're never, ever going to get off of this planet, no matter what happens, which is probably why they're establishing all these underground places where they think they can run and hide should the shit hit the fan. And indeed it will in the not too distant future, but that's beyond the scope of this podcast. So that is basically my experience. There's a whole lot more. And like I said, you're going to have to read the book or watch my other podcast. But now I want to get into the Quantum Health Transformation Program. So basically, I was having these experiences every night for 3 months, and then it abruptly stopped. And then the download happened. And the download was like happened in a moment. But it really fucked up my head, because not only did I have these recent experiences that I couldn't talk to other people about, I didn't even fully understand at the time necessarily what was happening, but then I got this download and I got all this information that I needed to somehow take from the abstract, downstep it into a very human way. Earth is, I guess I should say, English is probably the most common language on Earth. I could be wrong, but since I speak English, I did it in English, but I had to do it in a very basic way so that even people with a limited understanding of English could actually understand the information. I had to organize it. I organized it into 9 steps, and they're loosely coordinated with the chakras. So you might say, well, wait a minute, we only have 7 chakras. No, we have a lot more than that. But there's actually 9 basic chakras. There's the one below our feet that I call black, which comes before red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet. But then there's another one above our heads, about a foot above our heads, maybe 10 inches, that I also call white. So those 9 different chakras, each one supports a different aspect of our health, of our psyche, of our experience being human on planet Earth. And so each lesson is also loosely tied into those issues. Anyway, it took me over 2 years really to really downstep it. And I also had some health issues that really made it very difficult for me to put it into coherent English. But interestingly, as I've started making podcasts, and this is long before I started my own show or even my second show, I was terrified of putting this information out there. I knew I wasn't a very good speaker. I had all these problems, but I just kept trying and trying and trying. And over time, things improved and I got to be better at it. And eventually I got my website, and eventually I developed the Quantum Health Transformation Program, which is on my website. I'm going to actually screen share with you, if you haven't seen my website, and show you a little bit about, how to navigate it and get to this really, really important information. So I'm just going to go to my website on screen share. I'm not going to take too much time with this because we're already an hour into the show and I don't want to make the shows too terribly long. So here's my website, the home page. On it, you'll see scrolling across the top some of the products that I sell. I do that to try to cover my expenses. So rather than ask you to give me money in donations, I provide you with some beautiful products and services that you can buy if you want to help support my work. It really helps me out a lot. And then I've got a little bit about, the Quantum Health Transformation Program. And then there's links here to the program. It's absolutely free. Just enjoy it, and please share it because it's only really useful when it's being shared. I've got information on my Zendome's Organite, my comfort crystals. I offer vital services and also a whole bunch of free resources. Then I usually have a link to a video that I've done below that. If you want to watch the Quantum Guide Show, just click on that. If you want to watch Aliens and Astrology, all the episodes, just click on that. And then again, you can click on any of these pictures or images to get you where you want to go. And please do subscribe to my newsletter. It will give you 10% off of any product should you wish to purchase anything, but it also will keep you up to date with my work. So, so these tabs take you directly, like Quantum Health Transformation free online course takes you directly there. But you can also go through the free resources tab. So I'm going to just click on Quantum Health Transformation free online course here. It takes you right into it. So you start off with, welcome to a new health paradigm. And it really is a new health paradigm because it unites all aspects of what it means to be healthy, not just our body, but our mind, our spirituality, and also the woo-woo stuff. And so this just tells you a little bit about how it works. I recommend that people start with step 9 and work their way backwards to step 1. And also check out my YouTube channel. Here's a video. I can't even remember what it's about, but it shows before and after I started using the quantum health transformation myself. It actually changed me physically, mentally, and spiritually. Here's a link to a show I did with my friend Ryder Lee, where we talk about shadow work. Here's direct links to all the rest of the program. It's pretty beefy. It's about 22 or 24 videos altogether. And there's just no way you can breeze through this stuff. You really need to just take it one step at a time. Here's the introduction. Yeah, it tells you that there's at least 2 videos of the same name. One of them would be the primer, and the other one would be the live action. So the primer would be very similar to what's on the PDFs that I sell from my shop, which, by the way, are only $3.99 each. Really, in case you want to have your own copy of the program, and you can share it, you can use it, as long as you give me credit. I don't care. I want to get it out there. I really want people to benefit from it. I want people to be healthier and happier. That's what's really important. So step 9, I've actually made a few different videos about from the information of step 9, but it teaches you a conceptual tool, which I call the nubby ball. And that helps you to understand, I'm just going to wait for some of these images to load, helps you to really understand the quantum physics aspect of our reality. So you can see there's quite a few videos here that will give you all the information. So this one here is the primer, and then the next one is a live workshop where I was actually teaching how to use this tool to other people. And then here you can also click right on here if you want to order the PDFs that go with the lesson. And so the first one is about quantum physics. Step 8 is about all the different technologies that maybe seem too easy, that we just forget about them or we don't use them. That can include meditation. It can include visualization. It can include positive affirmations. It includes orgone generators. It includes all the kind of technologies we have at our fingertips. Many are absolutely free to help us to be healthier and happier and more grounded. So the first 3 steps, step 9, 8, and 7, are all about expanding your mind, expanding your thinking, and helping you to look at the world in different ways. Step 9 also teaches you how to do shadow work, light shadow integration. And step 7 teaches you how to integrate your male and female energies. And I also get a little bit into the transgender thing so that people can understand why this is happening and what does it mean. Then when we get into step 6, 5, and 4, we're talking about detoxification. Step 6 is probably the biggest or the most comprehensive lesson of all. And it's been broken down into three sections because it's just so much information. So part 1 is about external detoxification. So it draws your attention to all the chemicals that are in our personal care products, that are in our cleaning products, that are surrounded us everywhere, makeup, cosmetics, perfumes, that are so toxic that our bodies are always running way under optimum efficiency, and we don't even know it. And I also include recipes that cost pennies to make so that you can have your own personal care and cleaning products that are healthy and won't harm your health in any way. And then there is also part 2, which is internal detoxification, which teaches you all about the toxic elements that are in what we call food. Oh my God, you would not believe the problems that people are facing. And they're running to the doctor for pills when really their problem is a toxic overload. And your body can only handle so much. So I basically expose all of that. And then in part 3, it's emotional detoxification. So basically, all of our emotions are there for a reason. They're there to serve us. But we need to learn how to detoxify and how to accept and use them. And so I've got a very easy format. And I've also included a video that's not mine, that just talks about the link between breast cancer, estrogen, and makeup that a lot of people choose to use. And I'm not saying you should or shouldn't. That's not about that. It's just, if you're going to do it, you may as well be aware of the risks, right? And step 5 is all about food. What is a biologically appropriate diet for human beings? And I get into all of that and all the pitfalls. And I don't take sides. So there's a healthy way of eating and living that's vegan, that's raw vegan, that's lacto-ovo vegan, that's paleo, that is carnivore, that is, I'm missing one, the other one where you eat mostly protein and fat. Shoot, just left my mind. So anyway, and I get into a healthy way of approaching all of that. Then step 4 is how to detox from the construct. And it's like a fish that's in the ocean, it's swimming around, and you ask it to explain what the ocean is. It doesn't know, because it's so embedded in its environment that it doesn't even know. So this exposes the different aspects of the construct that most of us, until we choose to get ourselves free, are enmeshed in. And that is also holding us back. So the first 3 lessons, 9, 8, and 7, were all about expanding your mind and integration of your different energies and the different aspects of who you are. Step 6, 5, and 4 is all about detoxification. And we can't progress until we do the detoxification. We have to open our mind first, and we have to detoxify, because it's the only way that we're able to hold the frequencies that we need to get on to the last 3 steps. So there's step 3, which is designed for people who want to become the change they want to see in the world. And then step 2 is all about how to access your higher self, the Akashic records, the living library, extraterrestrials, all kinds of woo-related spiritual beings that are waiting to help us. But we need to ask for the help, because they're not just going to come in and take over. They don't do that. That's a human thing. Then step 1 is a very high frequency program. I mean, feel free to go and check all of these out. You don't have to do them in order, but I'm telling you, this is the best way to do it. So step 1 is spiritual exercises, ways that we can strengthen our quality as spiritual beings. And then there's just sort of a wrap-up conclusion there. So I really, really, really recommend that you check out this free online course. There's no strings attached. I also have a playlist for the Quantum Health Transformation, the 2.0 and the original, on my YouTube channel. And I haven't quite figured out how to organize on Odyssey or Telegram so that you can have specific playlists yet. Once I learn how to do that, you'll have that as options as well. But unfortunately, right now I'm a little bit tied to YouTube. So that's basically the course. It's under free resources. So I've got tons of videos about orgone generators. Why would somebody want an orgone generator? I was on Typical Skeptic with my friend Robert Khalil. He's going to be on our Aliens and Astrology program in January. He's actually done a lot of research into the Anunnaki. That's going to be super interesting. Zendome's Organite, the Quantum Field. This is my own unique brand of orgone generators, and they operate a little differently than maybe some of the other ones. And then there's all the shows that I've been guest on, other people's shows. the Quantum Guide Show and More Serial Podcasts, which basically gives you what you can find on the right-hand side of the screen anyway. The Quantum Guide Show, Aliens and Astrology. I did a limited series with Chris Matthew from Forbidden Knowledge News, and we called it Forbidden Transformation with Karen and Chris. That's got some super interesting information. And I had a radio show for a while called Convergence, and I have all the episodes of that if you're interested. Those are audio podcasts, Convergences. Then I also have many videos that I have made about health and vitality, all kinds of information, meditations, how to make your own medicinals. That's all there. Then, oops, where did I go? Health and vitality, social spiritual podcasts, where I made a series called The Global Platonic Love Affair with some of my other podcast friends. There is Shadow Talk, which I did an episode with Laura Lee Potvin from the Angel Rock Show. And then these are some of my visions: A Warning for Humanity, Slavery in Canada, Purebloods and Transhumans. If you haven't checked that out, please do. It's a way that we can all work together, where one is not better than the other. But since there are two kinds of human beings on planet Earth now, we need to look at what does that mean. And other interesting things, like I have an angelic warning about thought control, counterculture versus cancel culture. What's the difference? Hero's Journey, all kinds of stuff on there. And then, where am I? Oops, wrong place. Oh, okay. And then I did health and vitality, social, spiritual, fringe view. That's everything that's weird about me and my life. So it would be where you would find all the podcasts about my ET experiences. Then there's my published articles. I had 12 full-page articles published in Sybil magazine. Then I have my audio podcasts, video podcasts, my quantum health blog, which is totally not up to date. And then I've got links and resources. So these are people that I know and trust and love. Trevor Isley with Beamyism, which is the most amazing he's the most amazing teacher I have found when it comes to how to deal with the dark night of the soul or working with the shadow. Dave Petrella, who's my co-host on Aliens and Astrology. He's an amazing astrologer, and here's all his information. Oh, Leanne Clark, she's the Crystal Architect. She's pretty amazing. Chris Matthew, Forbidden Knowledge News. Tom has the most awesome website for all things fringe and weird. You want to find your way when you're just waking up. You want to check out Tom's website. And then there is, of course, Alfred Lambermont Weber, where he has basically been working out the positive future equals the positive timeline and unity consciousness. And then there's the woman who taught me how to do my own web work and who I call upon when I need help with my website. Her name is Laura. And then, of course, there's James Tracy, who helped me immensely by creating the very first Zendome orgone generators. So there's the home, there's the about, which gives you my background story and about the organization I created called VIALS. VIALS stands for Vancouver Island Alternative Lifestyle Services. Although I'm now in Red Deer, Alberta, but the information is good. There's my shop, all the free resources that I was telling you about, more workshops and events that I have done. And if there are any upcoming, they would be there. Donations, in case you don't want to buy my products, you just want to give me donations, that would be great too. And then this links you back to the PDF downloads. And then, of course, there's how to contact me. So it's basically my website in the Quantum Health Transformation Program. So looping this all back, to my extraterrestrial experiences, I got the information from them in an instant. It took me nearly 2 years to develop the Quantum Health Transformation Program. You might not think it by looking at it, but it's actually an enormous amount of information. And I'm looking forward to, once I get my book published, working on a 3.0 series of the same program. As I learn more, understand things more clearly, I want to bring that information to you. So that's basically the show for today. Thank you so much for joining me. And let me see who's on schedule for next week. Oh, next week is Jim Bob Oval Pants. Yeah, he's got his own podcast. I was on his podcast once, and he's just a super sweet guy. He's a young fella, and I just love getting perspectives of young people who are waking up and are embracing the change that they want to be in the world. So that'll be really, really exciting. Oh, and on the 4th of December, there's another Aliens and Astrology, episode 8 with Dave Petrella and I. And Dave is going to talk about how we carry astrology in our bodies. So our health, our bodies, all things physical are tied into astrology. And I think you'll find that super interesting. So I hope you'll join us for that. So I guess that's it for today. I'm hoping that things worked out with Costa and his family. And like I said, I have him rescheduled. And we're coming up to my 100th episode. I'm really excited about that. That'll be in the first week of January. So I don't know what I'm going to do for that yet, but I'll certainly keep you posted. So, like I said, please share this with your family, your friends, and I want you all to have the best week ever. I want everything wonderful to happen for you, and I want us all to become the change we want to see in this world. And we can do it, guys. We can do it. Just stop focusing on the negative and just start creating what we want to see and working on ourselves. It's really that simple. Not so simple, but definitely simple, not hard. We can do this. We got it. And we got each other's back. So it doesn't get much better than that. So again, much love and light. I love you all so much. Thank you so much for being here. We'll see you next week on the Quantum Guide Show. Bye-bye, everybody. Thank you for joining us on the Quantum Guide Show. Become the change that you wish to see in the world. Subscribe to my YouTube, Odyssey, and Telegram channels. Like this video and share it with your friends. You can also find the Quantum Guide Show and my other podcast called Aliens and Astrology on the Forbidden Knowledge News Network. That's www.forbiddenknowledge.news. And while you're at it, check out my website, www.KarenHoltonHealthCoach.com, where you will find some amazing products and services and an abundance of free resources to help you with your journey. All of the links are in the description below. And in the meantime, until we see you next week, keep up the good work.
Puts all my inner strife to rest, for time gives birth to hurriedness. It all makes sense, well, more or less, and the sages put me to their test. With heart and soul I do my best to find the answers to my quest. I wonder and I must confess, I don't know where it comes from, but I know it's okay. If this is all an illusion, then I'm willing to play. It's okay. It's okay.